Hi everyone, it's Laurie from Lorian Gaming here, and welcome to my little video about my trip to E3 2018. Apologies for the delay, but since getting back I've been stupidly busy just trying to get back into regular daily life, but better late than never, I suppose. Anyway, it's only going to be a short video. I just wanted to talk about my experiences at the event and what I actually thought of it, as I've had numerous people ask me, especially a lot of people from the UK who are less likely to be able to experience it than a lot of the friends I have over in the States, who obviously have a lot more better access to it. First of all, I should probably start by saying that the whole reason I was actually able to go to the event was because of Square Enix actually sponsoring my trip. They paid for my flight and accommodation due to me running a Tomb Raider fan site called Survivor Reborn, so that I would actually be able to do a report on the new Tomb Raider game, Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I won't talk about Shadow here, as I plan to do another video on that for our channel, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on that when I eventually get around to doing that as well. Anyways, yeah, so I got invited to the event with my travel to LA and the accommodation sponsored by Square Enix. And when they actually offered it to me, it was an opportunity I couldn't really turn down. I've always wanted to go to E3. I've been an avid gamer for over 20 years of my life. I've attended as many conventions as I possibly could within the UK. So I've gone to Eurogamer, Play Expo, MCM. Like, you name it, I've been there. And this being the first year that E3 was actually fully open to consumers, I was just so excited about the offer. I was just like, boom, yeah, I'm going. So I've been, yeah, and I was watching like the conferences as well over the weekend of all the new announcements that were coming through. Obviously, within the time difference as well, what I could actually watch, because my husband works full time as well, so I couldn't stay up at like 2 o'clock in the morning to watch some of them, but I would watch what I could the next day, sort of thing. So that got me all excited for the event as well. But I have to say, once we were actually there, I think it was a bit of a like different story, really. Because like, even though we were guests for Square Enix, so one of the exhibitors there, we actually got registered for gamer passes. So basically, like everyone else, every other consumer that comes to the event. So we basically had to join the queue when we got there, after the driver eventually found out where we were going. Yeah, once we got there, we had to join like the massive queue of people that were trying to get in for the 2 o'clock opening for consumers. Luckily, the bit that we actually joined the queue, where we joined the queue, it was actually shaded, and we just waited for our turn and just hoping that we had actually got the right queue, because we just kept getting pointed in completely different directions. It's just staff there just weren't that very helpful when it came to trying to find out where we were actually going. So we queued up for a bit, and eventually we got to the bit where we actually could register. Like, we'd obviously already registered for the passes, but we had to then have the passes printed. So when we got to the desk, put all our information through, had our ID ready, like our passports, just to prove who we were and everything. And then after 5 minutes of standing there baking in the sun, we were basically told, oh, you've come to the wrong queue. You need to go over to the other side of the convention centre to get your passes. And we were like, for God's sake, we were told at the other end of the convention centre this is where we needed to come. So after being quite dishevelled at this point, we decided to find some shade, because being British, we're not used to the California sun in the middle of the day. It's over 30-degree heat with no shade, well, with not a lot of shade whatsoever. So we were just absolutely confused. So we just decided to sit in the shade until we could figure out what to do. Eventually we found out from some other party members that were with us, who had also been sponsored by Square Enix, to be there. we'd found out that we had actually been in the right queue. It's just that their machines weren't working properly. So now they'd apparently been fixed, we decided to go back to the queue. Luckily they let us go to the front because they recognised us, and they were able to print our passes out finally. So we managed to get that sorted, and by then it was probably about 1:30, and like I said, the doors opened at 2 for consumers. So we had our passes, and the queue to get in was just immense, and it was completely exposed in terms of in the sun. And I don't know if any of you have been watching my my Let's Play. I'm actually pregnant. I'm like, when I went to E3, I was 27 weeks, so I was just coming up to the end of the second trimester. So, and also having travelled from the UK to LA the day before, I was very tired, I was very hot, and I was very, very uncomfortable. And asking me to stand in the sun was just, no, there was just no way I could do it, no way. So luckily, one of the community managers for Crystal Dynamics actually came out to help. And obviously, I mean, it weren't just because I was throwing like a massive diva fit for the fact that I had to like stand in the sun. It was also the fact that like we had a schedule that Crystal had given us that we had to stick to in order for us to be able to see things that they had planned for us that day and like the next day. So we had to be in there for 2 o'clock really, and the length of the queue, there's just no way we would have been able to do that. Luckily the community manager, Morrigan, managed to actually talk us or talk the security around to actually get us to the front of the queue so we could get in, we could be the first ones in, which is great, but it was still like 20 to 2, so we still had 20 minutes of standing in the sun, and I thought I might be okay, but I just started coming over like really ill because I was just getting so hot and bothered with all the running around we'd already done trying to find out where to get our passes. And literally just a few feet from where we were made to queue, there was shade, because that's where the security barriers were and where you went through the to have your bag searched and everything. Literally a few feet, not far at all. And the community manager actually asked a few of the security guards if it was okay for me to stand in that shade. I wouldn't obviously try and get through, I would just be standing in the shade, so I wouldn't be standing in the sun when I'm heavily pregnant. And they were just like, nope, using pregnancy as an excuse, you can't skip the line, blah blah blah. And it's like, but I'm not skipping the line, I'm literally just wanting to stand in the shade, I need a break from this sun. Nope, not having any of it. And it got to a point I was literally swaying. The people within my group were getting like increasingly worried about me. I was getting worried about myself because I was getting in such a state. Until in the end, basically, it took a female member of the security to walk along and see me. And she just grabbed me and took me into the shade and started fanning me with her clipboard and everything. I mean, if it weren't for her, I don't know what would have happened. I probably would have passed out. I mean, I've been to Florida before, and I've been queuing up for a ride in like Disney or something, and I've actually passed out from the heat before. So that's what worried me as well. I was just thinking, oh God, what if that happens again, especially when I'm pregnant? And it just really sort of worried me. But yeah, luckily this woman let me stand in the shade for a bit, and then obviously we all went through. Once the doors opened at like 2:05 or something, they didn't even open on time. So yeah, other than that shambles, once we actually got in, I was just thankful to be actually inside rather than in the sun. It was just, yeah, we were basically then taken to the Tomb Raider booth, which was really epic. I mean, you just walked in and you just saw all these just setups that have been done for all these games, and it was epic. It was just absolutely huge, like the setup that had been put in. I mean, we were just absolutely transfixed by the massive screen when we first walked in that was just showing all the trailers that we'd seen over like all the reveal of all the conferences that had been like all the trailers that had been revealed at the conferences like the days before. But I was just I think I was quite surprised by the sheer amount of people. Even though obviously I'd seen the queues outside, there was still a lot of people in there already, even though we were the first of the consumers to be in there. So obviously the people walking around were like exhibitors, press, different like PR people and everything like that. So yeah, it was a bit of a weird one when we first got there. But once we'd seen the Tomb Raider section, basically we were all given time slots and when we needed to go back to play the demo. I was given a lot of free time. I'd already played the demo at the reveal event in London a couple of weeks before, so I was given the last slot basically to play it. So I was given about 4 hours of free time just to walk around and see the event and everything, which for me, I was like, oh, fantastic. It means I can just go and look around. I can go to the Sony and PlayStation sets, and I can like hopefully see Last of Us, and I can just really sort of take full advantage and have a look at Fallout and just loads of different things I'd like seen all the conferences for. And walking around after being in the heat, it was quite a struggle, because even though the air conditioning was on, the sheer amount of people just meant that you just couldn't feel that air conditioning. It was just all really hot, really stuffy. But I mean, yeah, it was a lovely atmosphere there. But to me, like we walked around the first bit, like where I think it was the North Hall or something. So we walked around the North Hall for a bit. So we saw like the rest of the Square Enix set up. So they had Final Fantasy there. They had Just Cause 4, but Just Cause 4 was just for press. So it was just a nice little display that they had, and a little door that you walked through if you were press. Final Fantasy, we saw Resident Evil 2 was in there, and the queue again for that was immense. Assassin's Creed Odyssey we saw in there. Fallout 76 was there. Again, that was a massive queue. So I'm one of those people, I just don't, because I've been like queuing up all morning, I just didn't want to spend the next 4 hours queuing again for another game. So I was basically like, no, we'll just walk around and we'll just see what's on offer. But for me, I think the most important thing for me, I was willing to queue for Last of Us 2. That was about it. But we had to walk to another hall. It was like a 10-minute walk to the other hall to actually, luckily all inside, but it was a 10-minute walk to the other hall to actually see Last of Us 2, or to see where PlayStation was. They're in the same hall as like Nintendo, and I think Pokemon was there, and Walking Dead, and a few others. And I think it was a lot of other indie developers were there as well. So we walked over to that bit. That bit was even warmer than the other hall that we'd been in. And I have to say, I was really disappointed when I got there, because pretty much all the PlayStation section was just walled up, because the only way you could actually get to see Last of Us 2, if anything, was if you were press. So they had this hall that was just like, half of it was just taken up by walls. That was it. And it was just like, I mean, when you got there, it was like amazing sort of display of the different PlayStation characters, obviously over the years. So you had Ellie and Aloy from Horizon Zero Dawn. So they had like all these pictures of them up, showing obviously PlayStation, and a big screen showing all the games and like game trailers that have been shown obviously at the conferences, and interviews with developers and different things. Like there was a video of Hideo Kojima that we saw as we were walking through, and the majority of the PlayStation bit was just taken up by Spider-Man. I mean, it was an epic display for Spider-Man, but it was still that whole thing of you had this epic display, then you walk around the side, and then it was just all walls. So for a consumer, it was just really disappointing. There was nothing really there, and for me, I was just a bit downcast really on the whole thing. So that kind of upset me a bit. So yeah, there was nothing really, because there wasn't really anything there for me that I was really interested in seeing. Like I said, I was really hot and bothered that day, so there was just nothing that really piqued my interest. So then we just walked around, had a look at The Walking Dead, which had a few interactive or like zombies that were there walking around and stuff, so naturally. And then, they had like a few interactive displays and stuff that were going on. But there just wasn't really anything that really stuck out in terms of, I want to go and have a look at that sort of thing. So in the end, we walked back. We had some food because we were absolutely starving by that point. Managed to walk back to the other hall and had a looked at the Fallout section. But by the time we got there, they'd actually taken in as many people as they could for the day, and they couldn't take any more people in because it was just so popular. And I think that was something that I probably would have actually really liked to have done, because it was they basically did like an interactive just like this sort of show. So you walked in and you had actors that were acting as if they were training you for going down into their bunkers sort of thing, into their shelters. So that just seemed really interesting. I did manage to get they had a coin machine, when you put the coin, like you put a penny into the machine and you wind it up and it molds the coin to have little symbols on there or whatever. So I got 2 of those because we queued up for like 10-15 minutes for that. But again, that was really it. The Resident Evil one looked like a very long queue. There was even a queue for the shops. So who was it? I think it was Ubisoft. It was Ubisoft that had a shop with like a store within the hall. I didn't find out until the end of the day that, because I was looking for a PlayStation one. I didn't actually find out until the next day, or until the end of the day, that PlayStation actually had their one outside. So the next day, basically, I spent shopping in the PlayStation store. But again, there wasn't really a lot there. But it's still the fact that you actually had to queue to get into these places, and it was insane. It's too busy. It was too popular for its own good, really, and for what you get. And to me, you just don't get a lot if you're a consumer. And I think it really opened my husband's eyes really to the event. I think he sees it from both points of view, because he works for a games company who are actually exhibiting there, so he was able to see his friends there and see them work and stuff, and able to chat to them. But it's just we both agreed that it's kind of not been ruined by consumers, but they haven't set it up properly for consumers. I mean, I think I've never been to Gamescom, but I think the way that they've set that up is a lot better in terms of you have the conferences, you have the reveal events, you have all the press and the PR and everything beforehand. Then you have the days that are set aside for consumers. So you take away all the displays that you don't want them to see, take anything away that is just for press eyes only, and then you just open up the floor to consumers. But the way it was at E3, it was basically the morning was given to press and the afternoon was given to consumers. But because there was hardly anything for consumers to see, you just had all these people just squished into this place with not a lot of places to go, and it just, I just really wasn't that impressed with it, to be honest. Especially when you're expecting people to pay $250 to go to an event like this, and you're literally just relying on hype alone and the excitement that's been built up from the conferences the days before. I mean, to me, there was nothing really that warranted that price of a ticket. I mean, if you're one of those people that want to be the first to play play demos or to experience or to just play a bit of a game that hasn't actually, when no one else has been able to play it. So obviously, like, it was the first event, I think, where we were actually able to, where you're like the public were actually able to get hold of the playable demo for Tomb Raider, Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Obviously, like I said, I've been to the reveal event before, but the reveal event was only for press. But the Shadow of the Tomb Raider demo at E3, I think, was the first time it had actually been open for the general public to be able to play. So that sort of thing, I can understand the draw. But for $250, like, you can just wait for the game or just wait for a cheaper convention. It just didn't make sense to me at all. And yeah, I mean, when people have asked me, like I said, like, I've had a lot of people from the UK saying, oh, one day I'm gonna go to LA and I'm gonna time it around E3 so I get to experience E3, and I've just been telling to them it's not worth it. If you want to go to LA, go to LA, but $250 is not a price I would pay for what you could get at any other convention that's probably a hell of a lot cheaper. Like I said, I think E3 are just riding on their own hype they've built up over the years, that they are the convention or they are the conference that you watch to get all the latest information and the first to hear the information about certain games or whatever that, like, is being released from the developers or the publishers or whatever. And yeah, it's, to me, I'm glad I went, and I'm glad I got this experience. I mean, I count myself so lucky that I was able to go. But the hassle for getting in and what you actually got once you were in just didn't weigh up for me at all. And I can imagine I would have been so pissed off if I'd actually had to pay for my ticket to actually get into that. To me, it just was not worth it. So yeah, that's my opinion of E3. I'm sure a lot of people will disagree with me, but that's just how I felt. I think I've had a lot more fun at conventions in the UK, to be honest, and not having to pay half as much as what I'd have to pay to be at E3. So yeah, I mean, if you're able to go and it's something you've always wanted to do, then I'm not going to say no, don't do it. I'm just saying, in my opinion, it's not worth the money at all, not worth the hassle. But again, at the end of the day, that's my opinion. Do with that what you will. So hopefully I haven't disappointed too many people with my downer on that, with that opinion. But hey ho, we all see things differently, don't we? But yeah, thanks for tuning in, and I hope I've given a little bit of clarification in terms of what sort of thing you would expect from E3 if you're actually able to go. And remember, yes, I'm doing I'll be doing a video about Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I'll also be I'll hope to include the trailers as well, in case anyone hasn't seen them, and just give my review on what I think so far about Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I'll be doing that shortly. So I will see you all in the next video.